Hi there and welcome from Ventura, California to today's webinar. vAuto's Stockwave Sneak Preview, sponsored by vAuto and hosted by WebAttract, the leader in thought leadership webinars. I'm Lori Dearman, Senior Webinar Producer with WebAttract, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. And in just a moment, we'll be introducing our featured presenters who will be sharing with you a sneak preview of a first-of-its-kind sourcing solution for the most complex challenges in wholesale buying. You'll also have an opportunity to have your questions answered at the end of the presentation during the Ask the Experts panel session with both of our panelists. Now we've invited you, along with a diverse audience of over 1,000 professionals registered across 47 states and provinces. Before today's webinar, we asked each of you to tell us a bit about what you wanted to learn, and many of you weighed in. We thank you for your input, and I think you'll find that our speakers will address your requests throughout today's program. I would like to go to our very first interactive poll. So folks, coming up on your screen is our first poll question, and we'd like to hear from each of you. Which of the following issues would you list as the most difficult when sourcing auction vehicles? And in this case, please go ahead and select one. So your most pressing issue. Is it knowing the right cars to buy, finding the cars, paying the right money, or the time it takes? Okay, so it looks like 25% of you saying knowing the right cars to buy, 26% saying finding the cars, 36% say paying the right money, and 13% saying the time it takes. So our front runner here is paying the right money, and looks like across the board, however, you see responses. So thank you so much for weighing in. I know it will be certainly of help to our presenters as they move through today's material. All right, now joining us today, we do have Dale Pollack and Chris Stutzman, and I know Dale is a familiar face to everyone today, but allow me just a few moments to introduce Chris. Chris Stutzman serves as Director of Product Innovation for vAuto, and in this role, Chris leads efforts to create new used and wholesale used vehicle inventory management solutions for dealers. He's been an instrumental part of the Stockwave development team. Prior to vAuto, Chris served as the lead architect for Digital Motorworks. He lives in Austin, Texas, and enjoys off-work hours spending time with his family and playing drums. Chris, welcome to the webinar. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Lori. Thank you.
All right. You going to be doing any drumming for us today?
I think I'm going to stick to the software today.
All right. Fair enough. And Chris will be joining us at midpoint today with a live demo of the software. So we'll have you back there, Chris. All right. And a man who needs no introduction, Dale Pollack, founder at vAuto. It's certainly a pleasure to have you on with us today. Dale, how are you?
Great, Lori. Thank you.
All right. And folks, Dale's going to get us started today with a little bit of background. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Dale.
Thanks again, Lori. And welcome, everyone. Today is the long-awaited and much-anticipated preview of Stockwave. Our official launch will be exactly 1 month from today on April 1st, but we thought it would be a good idea to give some of our preferred Cox Automotive clients an opportunity to get a sneak peek and potentially an opportunity to get a jump start. It was about 2 years ago that we formed Cox Automotive. Prior to that time, we had a number of very successful companies working in the automotive industry, but we had this thesis that if we put them all under one umbrella and got them to work together, we should be able to create new solutions of value that would not otherwise be possible but for the combination of our vast assets and resources. So with that theory, Chris and I came up with what we believe to be a very audacious idea, and that was to use resources from across the entirety of Cox Automotive to create a solution that we believe is one that challenges every automobile dealer. And that's what Stockwave is designed to do. But before I jump into that, I just want to take this moment to thank literally the thousands of people across Cox Automotive that have worked tirelessly over the past 2 years to make what you're about to see a reality. It simply would not have been possible but for their combined efforts. So thanks to the entire Cox Automotive team. So with that said, I want to, in just a moment, talk about the objectives of today's webinar. But first, there are two very important points that I'd like to make. And the first is that Stockwave is for all dealers, not just vAuto dealers. It's for all dealers, large, small, franchise, and independent. Reason being is that every dealer has a need to source vehicles in the wholesale marketplace. So it is definitely a solution for all dealers. And then the second really important point that I want to stress is although Stockwave is being brought to you by Cox Automotive and vAuto, and it will make vehicle recommendations to our dealer clients, I want to make it very clear that notwithstanding the fact that Cox Automotive is the parent company of Manheim Auctions, we will show absolutely no preference whatsoever for vehicles at Manheim Auctions, or for that matter, any auction. All vehicle recommendations that will be presented to our dealer clients through Stockwave will be completely and solely in the best interest of the dealers. There'll be no preference, no priority of any nature given to vehicles that happen to be at a Manheim or any other auction. It's a complete level playing field for all auctions and all vehicles. And again, all recommendations are made solely in the best interest of the Stockwave dealer client. So with that said, what are the objectives for today's calls? Well, I want to touch on very briefly the challenges that Stockwave is designed to solve and address for dealers. I'll talk very briefly about the benefits that will inure to dealers as a result. And then what we'll do is we'll have a product demonstration given by Chris. We'll talk about pricing for Stockwave, next steps, and then we'll go to questions and answers. So beginning with the challenges that Stockwave is designed to solve, you know, for many years I've watched men and women toil and labor tirelessly trying to find used vehicles in the wholesale market. Literally, I've seen them give up days and nights and weekends of their work and family lives just trying to find the right cars at the right money that they can be successful with. And it's occurred to me for a long time that across the entirety of Cox Automotive, we've got assets and resources that if we put them together could literally solve many, if not most, of all of those challenges for dealers. So, you know, those challenges are the ones that we enumerated earlier, that, you know, it's really hard to know what cars, you know, are best for your lot, where to find them. When you do find them, to do the research, make sure that the ones that you select meet your standards, find them for the right money. And then again, just the whole process takes a lot of time and effort. So what if we could take all of those challenges right off the table for dealers? Think about how much time that would return to people's lives. Think about how much value that would deliver to their used vehicle operations. And that's exactly what we've done with Stockwave. So I think it's fair to say that the first benefit of getting the right cars on your lot at the right time for the right money with little effort is that you'll sell more vehicles and you'll make more gross profit. It's also fair to say that will return a lot of your life to you that would otherwise be spent doing these tasks. So definitely we believe that the use of Stockwave will make your dealership operation more efficient, because a lot of time that will otherwise have been spent on doing this sort of thing can be applied to other areas of productivity. So we definitely believe there should be a lot of operational efficiency brought to your dealership operation. And then finally, and should never be overlooked, you know what, we could just make this whole thing a lot more fun and a lot easier, and hopefully put a smile on your face in doing this task. So that's never a bad thing. It's always a good thing. So those are the benefits that we hope and to believe will deliver with Stockwave. Now, one of the things that I want you to take note of before I turn this over to Chris for a demonstration is that it is going to appear to be very, very simple, deceptively simple. But really, isn't that the whole point of Stockwave? Because after all, our motto for Stockwave is you just turn it on. So what Chris is going to show you, I'll give you a notion, is going to look really simple. But that is the whole point. Just take this whole challenge of finding the right cars at the right money at the right time, and just reduce it to its absolute simplest form and automate it and make it as simple as possible. So what you're going to see is just how simple it can be by just simply turning it on. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Lori for a brief poll, if you would, please.
Absolutely, thank you. And folks, coming up on the screen is that poll, and we'd like to hear from you. How many hours do you or your team spend researching and purchasing auction vehicles each week? So is it less than 5 to 15, 15 to 25 hours, or maybe greater than 25? All right, just about 12% of us spending less than 5 hours. Our front runner here is with 36% saying 5 to 15 hours. 28% saying 15 to 25 hours, and another 24% spending greater than 25 hours. So quite a few hours there spent certainly researching and purchasing auction vehicles each week. But Dale, any thoughts there?
Yeah, Lori, I think that those poll results definitely validate the value proposition of Stockwave, because if we can reduce those hours to literally maybe 1, maybe 2, or maybe even less than an hour, I think it's obvious that we'll return a lot of value and a lot of life to our dealership people.
Yeah, absolutely. With that, we'll turn our attention over to Chris Stutzman for our demo today. Chris?
Thanks, Lori. As Dale said, the goal is to make it fast, easy, and simple. So what I'm going to do is walk you through Stockwave, and we'll see how you just have to turn it on. So as Dale said, it's actually a really complicated problem. There's about 250,000 cars sitting in run lists and online auctions in the wholesale market across the country. And what we're trying to do is, how can we take that and turn it into a more manageable set and get you down to the cars that you can spend a little bit of time looking at and go and make the actions you need to take to get those cars on your lot. So what we did is we logged in, and I'm on the first page you'll see, and what we are going to show you on this first page are the cars you need. And you can see that there are around 1,300 cars that would definitely work for me, for my dealership here. And what I've just done is I've eliminated that search. I've taken you from 250,000 cars down to 1,300 cars. And now we're going to look at how we can use this tool to reduce and eliminate much of the research. What I see here are the cars that are based on my current inventory, recent sales, and cars that meet my profit objectives, and importantly, only cars that meet my standards. So there are 1,300 cars that will work for me, but obviously I don't need that many, and there are too many for me to analyze one by one. So literally with a simple click, I can sort order these cars best to worst on a number of criteria. So let's say I wanted to be able to sort them by projected profit, how much money I can make on each car. With a click, I was able to, that's what we're seeing here. And then if I wanted to sort them by their distance from my front door, I can just change the sort that way. Or if I wanted to sort them by auction date, see the ones that are coming up for auction soonest. It's just one click to do that. But now I'm going to go ahead and put it back to the projected profit. And now I can go through and I can filter this down even more, because 1,300 is too many. So if by using this left rail here, I can quickly go through and whittle this down to the cars that I really want. So I'm going to go ahead and choose cars that have lower miles per year. I'll choose cars that are of good condition, that have a good CR grade. And I'll keep looking down here. Let's see. I can choose cars that have no accidents and no damage based off of Carfax. And then let's say I'll go ahead and choose Carfax one owner. And we'll come up to the top. And so now I've taken 1,300 down to 338. Well, let's see, I'll go ahead and whittle it down to just 2014s, and then let's say I want to get some Ford, so I'll limit it to Ford. So now I've gone from 13. I started at 250,000 cars. Just by logging in, just by turning it on, I had 1,300 cars, and then with a few clicks of the buttons, I was able to get this down to 55 cars, the cars that are really tuned into what I want to get from my dealership. And so now let's look at what we see on each one of these cars. As you can tell, we give a big picture there so you can see what kind of car you're looking at, as well as details about the year and the make, model, and trim, and how many miles it has on it. And then for the car customers, you'll be able to see just by hovering over this a quick glance at the Carfax information, and you'll be able to click through to get to the full Carfax report from there. And then in addition, you see this number that is the profit. This is what we think that you can make on this based off of what you have told us through your business plan. Let me go ahead and I'll hover over this one, and when you hover over each of the tiles, you get a little more information. And here I can see where what the seller is, what the auction house is, what the location is, and how far that is from my dealership, along with the actual CR grade, and I can click through to get to the condition report right there. And then at the very bottom, you can see that I have how much I should pay for this car. Well, I'm going to go ahead and click into this, and we'll see what else we can learn about the car. So here I'm on the detail page for this car, and you can see a lot of the information that you would expect and have come to know the different auction houses will provide you on their websites. You have more detail about the car with engine, drivetrain, body, interior material, as well as a laundry list of the different equipment, any seller comments that might have been disclosed with this car, and a little more information about the auction along with the lane and run number. And if this were an online auction, you'd also see what the current bid is, and if there's a buy now price, you would see it populated there. And then I'm going to scroll down even a little further, and now you start to see the information that Stockwave is bringing you right to your fingertips. So any of the books that I need to make my decisions are going to be populated right here on the left side, and you can see the different conditions with the different prices. And then if I need to go and fine-tune any one of these, it's just one click away. I can add in options or review the options that were selected by the Stockwave. And then all the way down at the bottom, you can see that we also have MMR. And before I get into what we see over here on the right, I just want to let you know that when you get started with Stockwave, one of the first things you'll need to do is share your business plan with the tool. You tell Stockwave how you think about setting a price and your profit objective, along with certain standards for what you expect your inventory to meet. Stockwave will use your business plan to show the cars that are right for you and what you should pay for them. And so what we can see over here on the right is a quick math equation that starts with what you're going to retail these cars for, what you think you're going to be able to sell them for in the retail market, and working back from that to figure out the most you really should pay up for this car to get to the money that you need to make. And so this is, this is my sample dealership I've set up, but we go and look at the distance it is from your dealership to figure out the transportation. We use some metrics on the age of the car and the condition of the car to come up with an estimated recon cost, and then some other costs that you've set up. And then finally, this dealer is set up to need to get $1,250 on every car in front end. And so when I do that math, that simple math, using your business plan, I'm able to arrive at what you should pay for this car. At most, you should pay right around $15,000 for this car. And then at the bottom, what we do is we can take that same math, and then we estimate what these cars normally go for at the wholesale auction. And we say, well, if you were to go in and try and sell it, starting with your asking price and working back on your costs, and you were able to transact for what they're normally going for in that market, then you could make up to $2,100 on this car. So we've quickly gone through and figured out the cars, not only what you should pay for each car, starting with your retail price and working back, but then we've also found the ones that, based off of that math, which ones you have the best chance of winning at auction. And we can use that to filter down the set, and then you see the details here. And when you look at this car, if you think, see that it has like special wheels, or the condition is better than you expected, any one of these numbers while you're reviewing this car, it's just with one click you can edit that, and we'll recalculate all of the financials for you right there. And then the last piece I want to point out for you is we have this plus and minus section. So you have some information about the Carfax, information about the vehicle, and information about the deal in the market that make this car good or less good for your dealership. And this will include things about Carfax, Things about the deal as we see, like you can see that we think this one has a high profit potential. You know, a negative could be low miles. Another positive you might see with our partnership with Auto Trader, we can say that some cars are hotter in the market than others. And then also looking at the wholesale market, we can see if there's a surplus of them that you might want to be a little more cautious going into this car. So there you have all the information about that car. And I've looked at this one and I've decided, okay, I think I really want to get into this one. It's at Manheim. I'm probably going to want to go ahead and put a proxy bid on this. So I'm going to go ahead and click Go to Auction, and now I've taken you away from Stockwave over to Manheim. And before I get further into this, I just want to tell you that I'm showing you a car here that's on Manheim because I have credentials for Manheim. This will work on any of the sites that you go to find cars, including ADESA, Smart Auction, and many of the independent auctions. So what you can see is I'm brought here to the detail page for Manheim that if you shop on Manheim, you used to seeing, and you can place a proxy bid. And this one's actually also on OVE. But at the very bottom, what we've done is we've brought all of that intelligence that Stockwave has for you, and we've brought it with you to the auction online here. And so we didn't want to send you off to the auction to make your buying decision and have to just remember all that information that was in Stockwave. I can press this button down here on the right and click Expand, and all of that data that you saw in Stockwave on that detail page is right here for you also on Manheim's page. And I also want to just reiterate one more time that what I'm showing you here is on Manheim, but it will work with any of the sites, ADESA, Smart Auction, and the independent sites. So let's review real quick what we did. We started by having 250,000 cars in the wholesale market. Just by logging in, Stockwave was able to get that down to 1,300 cars for me. With a handful of clicks, I was able to get that down to a manageable size set of cars that I can actually go and walk through. Once I found the car that I wanted, I was able to review it quickly. And then once I decided that was a car I was going to transact on, I was able to click through to the auction house, bring all the Stockwave intelligence with me, and make a transaction decision right there. So Lori, if we can go back to the presentation. What we're showing you here is on the desktop, but all of this is going to be given to you on your mobile device as well. So you'll have all the power of search and sorting and filtering that I just demonstrated on the desktop. We're going to bring with you on your iPhone or Android device. In addition, if you're at an auction, you can walk up to any of the cars at that auction, scan the VIN, and if you buy from multiple dealerships, Stockwave will have the power to quickly find that car and tell you which of the dealerships you buy for this car is best for. And then also we're going to be able to bring this intelligence to the online live auctions through our Genius Sync pack. And in the Genius Sync, you'll be able to take these financials that you've seen and reviewed in your research in Stockwave, and you'll have them there as in your heads-up display if you're buying cars on a simulcast or live block. And then also if you can use the power of it while searching too. So that's the demo I have. I guess back to you, Dale, to talk about pricing and configuration.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. And again, what Chris just showed us is how we went from roughly 250,000 used cars down to a handful that would work best for our dealership, and did it literally in a matter of minutes, which makes it look very simple. And it, in fact, is the point. It is very simple using Stockwave, a task that would likely have taken hours, perhaps even days under conventional technology. So, we're really excited, and we think that we can bring a lot of value to the dealerships and the users. So let me talk for a moment about pricing. We purposely have priced this to make it very appealing and very practical in the entire range of dealers, large and small, franchise and independents. And on top of that, what we decided to do is to create a introductory offer that will hold open for the next month or so through the conclusion of NADA, which I believe begins roughly on April 1st or thereabout and goes for a few days. So this introductory offer here's what we're putting forth. For all of the functionality that Chris just showed you, a monthly subscription is an introductory offer of $395 per month. Now, if you happen to presently be a vAuto or Auction Genius client, we'll take $100 off of that for our introductory offer, so you would pay $295. The only upgrade at this time to Stockwave is what we're calling Genius Sync. Genius Sync is functionality that allows you to use the Stockwave functionality that you just saw in the online live auction environment, such as simulcast or live block or some other independent auction version thereof. So if you're accustomed to buying in that online live environment and you want to have all that Stockwave intelligence, you might want to upgrade your Stockwave subscription with the Genius Sync pack, and that would be an additional $295. So that is it for the pricing. Those are introductory prices through the end of NADA next month, and we believe that it is very, very reasonable relative to the value of the time and efficiency and appropriateness of the vehicles that it will offer. So just a few thoughts about next steps. If you would like to get started right away, that would certainly be one option that we would offer you, and we get you in the training queue immediately in the order of your registration for Stockwave. Potentially, you might also, based on what you saw here today, like to schedule a one-on-one web demo at your dealership to expose it to your broader management team. That would be fine as well. Also, we'd be happy to send you electronic brochureware that will give you more information about Stockwave. And of course, as always, you can feel free to reach out to me directly by email or by social media, and I'd be happy to answer any additional questions or interact with you in that environment as well. So with that said, Lori, back to you.
Thank you, Dale. We'll turn our attention to some of the questions that are coming in through the queue, so I'll ask both Chris and Dale to step up to the virtual podium, if you will. And got a lot of questions coming in. I'm going to start with our first question here, and that is over to you, Dale, and that is, how does Stockwave differ from provisioning?
Yes, so if you're a vAuto provisioning dealer, you probably see a lot of similarities, and provision has some features that are unique unto itself, as does Stockwave. For example, the provisioning module of the vAuto system gives you the ability to analyze your trade-ins in terms of appropriateness for your used vehicle inventory. Provisioning in vAuto also gives you the unique ability to get the grades, you know, the ABCDs that you're available or familiar with on the 7 different levels of criteria. Provisioning gives you that sort of functionality. Stockwave gives you some different functionality. One of the things that you may have noticed in Stockwave is a lot of the ability to very instantly and automatically research the vehicles. So Stockwave has the unique aspect of allowing you at a couple clicks of a mouse to filter your vehicles based on criteria and standards that you've set up in the system and do essentially the researching for you. But the most significant difference of Stockwave from the provisioning system is that it automates it. It takes many of the tools that you know in provisioning and plus some that you might know from Auction Genius, puts them together and essentially automates the process, puts it in automatic mode. So those are some of the aspects that are unique to each, and a few that are common to both. So ready for the next question, if you would, please, Lori.
Okay, next question over to you, Chris. And that question is, how does Stockwave know what cars my dealership needs and the standards I expect for those cars?
That's a great question, and maybe I could probably answer this one best by getting the demo back up.
Okay, there we go. Let me give you keyboard and mouse control there, Chris. Hold on.
Okay.
There you go.
Let's see. There we go. Yep. So it's a good question, and so there's really two pieces to this of how we're able to whittle that down to the cars that you really need, and it's a combination of the business plan that I alluded to before, as well as understanding your inventory strategy. So I'll start with my business plan, and I'll come over here, and what we do is we break it into two pieces. The first is the economics of the deal, how much I want to pay for the car. And then the second piece is the filtering of the cars down to the ones that meet my standards, which is going to be, what cars I want. And I'll just do a quick walkthrough of what we have here. So what we do is, based on how you use a book to help us know how you want to retail cars. So you're going to use a book that is a best estimate for how you usually retail cars. And this can be, any of the books that you've signed up for. In addition, every Stockwave customer is going to have access to the fair market range and fair purchase price from Kelley Blue Book, as well as MMR. And you can set it as a percentage up and down from that. And then you can go through and set up, you can see there's lots of configurations here for setting up your reconditioning, transportation, and then you can have any number of other costs that you put in. And then finally, you can tell us how much profit you want to make on that car. What front-end gross would you be happy with on this car? And you can either specify as a fixed amount or a percentage of the selling price. And then finally, here I've got it set up as 100% of MMR. You tell us what you think cars normally go for at auction. Now, this isn't saying what you want to pay for those cars at auction. This is just saying, in order for us to figure out which ones you have a chance of making money on, these are the ones, we'll use this as an estimate of what they'll go for, and that's how we'll figure out that projected profit. And then finally, I'll go to the bottom part here where we see the vehicle filtering, and there's just a number of ways that you can think about it, filtering by age, by the condition of the car, how many miles it has on it. You can specify specific makes and models to include or exclude specific segments, certain auctions and distances that you're willing to travel for cars. And then finally, we have a whole section here where you can filter out ones based off of keywords that we see in the seller comments. So that's how we set up your business plan. So now we know what you're willing to pay for the car, and then and which cars to get. Yep.
Okay, just one other point I want to add. So a couple different scenarios. At your dealership, you might set up a business plan for subprime inventory. You might set up a separate business plan for certified inventory and a separate business plan for mainstream inventory. So literally, with multiple business plans for a single dealership, you can easily search and research automatically vehicles that meet certain types of inventory that you might keep on your dealership lot. And another aspect of this business plan that Chris just showed you is that you might be a buyer for multiple dealerships. And therefore, if you're a buyer for multiple dealerships, your Stockwave system will contain business plans for each of those dealerships. And there might be, as I just mentioned, multiple business plans for different types of inventory at each dealership, which gives you that really cool functionality that Chris alluded to earlier, where you can take your mobile device, swipe any bin, and it will tell you exactly which aspect of your inventory a given vehicle might be well suited for, or alternatively, for which dealership you purchase, which dealership that vehicle might work best for, and put them actually in rank order. So these business plans have a lot of functionality, and multiple business plans will serve multiple interests of dealerships or buyers for multiple dealerships. So Chris, carry on, please.
Yeah, and thanks, Dale. And that's a great call out. And on the mobile device and in the desktop, you'll be able to choose the business plan you're looking at when you're searching for cars. And then when you're looking at a car, you can compare the different business plans and see which business plan this car is a best fit for, like you said. So that's our business plan. And then the last piece I wanted to show is the inventory strategy, which is, this is going to be something that's familiar to our provisioning customers, but might be new to some of the customers that, or some of people that aren't provisioning customers. And what we do here is, when we're looking for what cars to put on your lot, it's important that you keep a mix of cars that, like, I don't always want to just tell you the car that you can make the most money on, because it might be the same kind of car, and you can't fill your lot with one kind of car. You need to have the right variety, and the right variety is different for every dealership. And rather than you having to come in and say that what works for me and what doesn't work for me, we can just look at your inventory and look at what's sold in your inventory recently and figure out where you need gaps, where you need to put cars to maintain a day supply that matches that you tell us you want to maintain. And that's what we call the strategy here. So you can see we break it out by vehicle segment and then by price ranges. And then just looking here, I've got a +7 on compact cars between $10,000 and $15,000, and that's because I've told Stockwave that I want to maintain a 45-day target day supply on this. I only have one of them, and I've sold 8 of them in the past 45 days. So that means I need to get 7 more. I'm really light on those. And then this information will follow me through the app. We'll only show you the ones by default. We'll only show you the cars that have one of these green boxes here, because you're understocked in those. And then you'll be able to find the ones that meet those needs and fill the gaps that based off of where your sales are today. So that's really how the strategy, working with a business plan, is able to take 250,000 cars and bring it down to a more manageable size, of hundreds of cars that you can start filtering from there.
Also, just one other thought to add to that, the strategy page, as Chris just described, is what really drives the initial recommendation. So when Chris turned the system on earlier and it said, okay, we went from 250,000 cars in the market to maybe 1,300. The 1,300 are the ones essentially that fill those green gaps, and then we started to filter down from there. But alternatively, you might have a particular desire or need. You might say, for example, I want to find all of the compact pickup trucks that I can possibly find that are no more than 3 years old, 4-wheel drive, and you could create a saved search, which even though the strategy page wouldn't suggest you need those vehicles, you can say, I definitely want to find all of those that I can ever find and have an opportunity to buy them. So you can set up what we call saved searches outside of the strategy page, which will also always bring to you those vehicles for consideration every time you just turn it on.
That's a great point, and just one more item on the saved search is that every morning when you log into Stockwave, you could go to your list of saved searches, and we'll tell you right there if any new ones have shown up since the last time you looked at it, and we'll take you right to those cars. So that's a quick way to go and see if you fill those orders. Like you said, if you've got a specific kind of car that you want to start getting into, or if you had a customer come in with a specific need, you could set up a saved search, and then we'll notify you through the system that new ones have shown up, and you'll be able to go and find those cars.
Great. Lori, next question, please.
All right. Dale, this one to you. What is the future of Auction Genius?
Great question. So you probably notice inside Stockwave a lot of the functionality that if you are an Auction Genius user that you've come to know. So our plan over time is to phase out Auction Genius as you know it today and migrate those users to Stockwave.
Okay. One more here for you, Dale. Do you have to be a vAuto client to use Stockwave?
No, absolutely not. As I alluded to in the beginning, you definitely do not need to be a vAuto client to use Stockwave. This is a system meant for all dealers, large, small, independent franchise, and independent. And this is a product that has been developed by vAuto, but brought to you by Cox Automotive. And it's really, as I alluded to again earlier, really the first large-scale test of our theory that if all of these companies owned by Cox Enterprises work together, we can create solutions that could not otherwise have been created but for our combined assets and resources. So definitely do not have to be a vAuto user to enjoy the benefits of Stockwave.
Okay. Got one here for you, Chris. Will Stockwave be available on my iPhone and iPad?
Great question. So what I spoke to earlier is the mobile app which you'll be able to use, and that's going to be a native app on your iPhone or Android device that you can use at the auction, or if you're just searching away from your laptop or desktop computer. In addition, that mobile app will work on your iPhone, or on your iPad or your tablet. It isn't optimized for it, but another thing that we've done while developing Stockwave is we've made sure that it is compatible with your tablet device. So you should be able to go to the Stockwave website and use it on your tablet, iPad or Android tablet.
Okay, thank you, fantastic. Question here from Brandon. This one's directed at you, Chris. Does Stockwave integrate with AutoCheck as well as Carfax?
It's a great question. We are working on our integration with AutoCheck, so I'm hopeful that we would have it by the release, but it's on our short list of things to do. So today we only have the Carfax integration, but AutoCheck is coming.
Okay, another one here from Brandon, actually for you, Chris. Can we see cost to market percentages on the vehicle details page?
That's a great question, and I think that I'll spend a little bit of time just talking about this, that what I demonstrated to you today is what everyone will see. With the Carfax, you have to have a relationship with Carfax to be able to see that data, but outside of that, everything else you saw there is what every customer would see. What we have done is for provision customers and provisioning customers, we've brought a lot of the live market view and a live market information that you're used to and brought it into Stockwave. And that is going to include things like being able to see your market day supply, being able to see the cost to market, and then being able to use our book, which is our live market view book, to book out the cars, and you'll be able to set your asking price as you do today in vAuto. You'll be able to set your asking price as a percentage of the average list price in the market. So yes to cost to market, also market day supply, and being able to use our book for setting your asking price.
Okay, I have a question here for you, Chris, as well. Can you save the search criteria you showed with the Carfax criteria?
Absolutely. Everything every search you do on that search page, every item that you click on the left-hand side or keywords you type in, you can just click save and give it a name, and we'll take all of that information that you've collected and we'll put that in the save search so that next time you come in, you can just click on the save search and see the cars that match it.
Okay, question here for you, Chris. This is from Alan. When setting up the asking price, can it be set to a percentage of our local market? So in other words, can I set it to look for all cars that meet my structure as far as fees and profit and price at 98% of my local market?
Absolutely, and that's what I was alluding to. For provision and provisioning customers, that will be something that you'll get when you log into Stockwave, is you'll be able to set your price based off of the R book value, which for provision customers that will be familiar terminology, but be able to set your price as a percentage of the average price in your market based on cars that are like yours.
And let me just add something, that if you happen not to be a vAuto user, you would set your asking price based on any third-party guidebook that you might subscribe to. So you could say, I want to set my asking price, for example, at 95% of NADA retail, or as Chris mentioned earlier, standard with your Stockwave subscription is you'll get the KBB fair market value. So you could say, I want to set my asking price, at KBB fair market value, or 102% or 98% thereof. So there's multiple ways of doing that. If you are a vAuto client, you can do it as you do it in vAuto, but there are plenty of ways to do it that are equally appropriate if you're not a vAuto client.
All right, Dale, while I have you there at the microphone, I've got a question for you from Troy. With this tool, would we need Auction Genius?
No. This tool takes everything that you know from Auction Genius and adds more to it. So with this, you're actually getting much more functionality than you currently are enjoying with Auction Genius.
All right, this one over to you, Chris. Brandon's asking, can we see our book on the vehicle detail page?
I think I've covered this one, but I'll just say it again, that for vAuto customers, for provision and provisioning customers, the answer is yes. We'll bring that live market book that vAuto provides, the R book, and it will be available for you to adjust on the vehicle detail page. And then also you can use it to set your business plan for setting the asking price. And then also we'll show you the cost to market on the detail page right there.
Okay, Chris, this one from Joshua. I don't see how I can sort by stocking grade or days supply. Will this be an available feature?
Stocking grade I know is going, I take that back. I was going to say the stocking grade was going to come sooner than I know that both of those are on our short list. So yes, though they are on their way. I can't promise that they'll be there April 1st, but they are on our short list.
Chris, one more here for you. Well, several, but we'll start one at a time. This one from Danny. I am a provision user. Did you solve the issue of eliminating closed sale vehicles from the search?
That's a great question. The answer is that we are still working on it. So April 1st, I don't know that we'll have anything for you to see and when it's released, but we're working closely with Manheim to get those closed sales set up, and then flagging the ones from the other auction sites that are closed so that you can quickly get down to the closed sale if that's what you're looking for, or eliminate them if you're ineligible to buy from those.
All right, and Chris, Robin is asking, if we have a vehicle on OVE or Smart Auction, will they automatically show up on Stockwave?
Absolutely, yes. Those are among the auction houses that we integrate with. So we have Manheim, Odessa, Smart Auction, and then dozens of the different independent auctions through our relationship with Edge Pipeline and others.
All right, Chris, do you need a moment to take a drink of water before we carry on with the rest?
No, let's keep them coming. There's a good question.
All right. Okay, this one for you, Chris, from Tom. What if we have a local auction that is not on Stockwave currently? Will you contact them and add them to Stockwave?
Absolutely. If what we would love to do is if our Stockwave customers say that there's auctions that are missing and they can put us in touch with the auction houses, we've got a team of people that are ready to work on those integrations and are constantly looking for new integrations to do. So,
and again,
yes,
and I just want to stress again, it would really be a smart thing for those smaller independent auctions to do, because their vehicles will gain instant visibility to a very, very large population of buyers. So it's consistent with our level playing field and our guiding principle of only showing dealers vehicles that are in their best interest.
Okay. And Chris Troy is asking, is Edge Pipeline part of your partnership?
Absolutely.
Okay. William's asking, this one to you, Chris, is the Galvez book available on Business Plan?
The Galvez book is, yes. We have a number of books, and ask me if I missed one, but we have Edmunds, KBB, NADA, Black Book, KBB, I think I already said, MMR, and then our book for vAuto customers.
And also the KBB fair market value, as consumers would see it online.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, and Chris Matt's asking, does Shockwave offer automatic freight calculations, or would dealers need to calculate freight for each vehicle based on distance?
Great question. So what Stockwave does today is it will allow you to estimate your transportation cost as a cents per mile or a dollar amount per mile. One of the exciting partnerships that we're working on is with Ready Auto Transport to try and get an estimate from them that's in there and actually be able to establish the transportation from within the system. But as an open playing field, if there are other transportation companies that would also like to get their get estimates in for people that are using them for freight, we would love to start conversations, because the key is that we need those numbers to be as accurate as possible for you in the tool.
And as competitive. So again, I want to stress what Chris just said. If any of you use transportation companies that we don't currently have in the system. We would very much like to have their data so that we can provide you the most accurate and relevant transportation costs for your dealership.
Okay, and Dale, Lee is asking, when can we go live?
Well, we think that if you gave us the go-ahead after this webinar to get you signed up, we'll get the process going, we'll get training scheduled for you, and we would hope to have you live in the next 30 days. And again, we already have a number of people who have expressed interest, so we do have a queue that is building. So when I say in the next 30 days, I just want to qualify that depending on where you fall in the queue, but we're definitely ready to get the process going.
Okay. Chris, David's asking, the recommended vehicles are determined only by dealer business plans or also by dealers' historical sales?
Well, what I demonstrated earlier is that in the strategy is very much tied to the dealer sales. So we look at what segments and price ranges a dealership is having success in, and the recommendations will only pull out the cars that meet your strategy, and that's how we define it, is by looking at your sales and the cars you currently have online.
So to be clear, yes, the recommendations are based off of what you're selling on your lot relative to how many like those you have on your lot. So if you're selling a bunch of them and you tell us you want to have a 30 or 45 or 60-day supply, Stockwave will make sure that you have adequate vehicles in those segments to maintain your target day supply. But again, as we alluded to earlier, you also have the ability to say, well, even if I don't have past history with a certain type of vehicle, but I know I want them, it will serve those vehicles up to you as well.
Okay, this question to you, Dale, from Lance. How long is the commitment to the contracts?
Consistent with everything we do, it's month to month. The day that it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for us. If we can't help you, we're not going to hurt you. So it is month to month.
Okay, this one over to you, Chris. Kyle's asking, how does the strategy page know what cars I'm selling?
That's a great question, and for any dealer that signs up for Stockwave, what we'll do is work with them to understand the sites that they are advertising their cars on. Now, whether that be a bigger third-party site like AutoTrader or Cars.com, or if they want to use their dealer website. And what we'll do is we'll look at the cars. Our live market view system is always looking at the cars that are on that site to see what's active, and then when we see those fall off, then we will register that as a sale, but it doesn't stop there. Because if we see that fall off and we see it show up in a wholesale market, we're working on being able to identify that as not a retail sale, and we won't count that in your strategy. Similarly, if we see that same car show up at a different dealership within a certain amount of time, we'll just assume that that was a dealer trade and it wasn't a sale. So we'll use that. And then for provision customers and provisioning customers, we actually get the inventory and sales by polling the DMS system, integrating with your dealer management system.
Yeah, one of the really good things about Stockwave is that we don't need to have DMS integration and deal with all of the associated costs and integration efforts associated with DMS integration.
Okay, another question here for you, Chris. Alex is asking, when searching, can you filter between Smart Auction, OBE, and Manheim?
Absolutely. I glossed over that a bit when I was going through it, but there are a ton of things that you can filter by, and one of them is the auction house. And then not only that can I filter to Smart Auction or Manheim, but if I filter to Manheim or Odessa, I can then filter down to the actual locations, the specific auction locations.
Okay, this one for you, Chris. Craig's asking, do I have to have provisions to see the price to market in Stockwave?
In our initial offering of the tool, that is the case. We are working on potentially putting together a package where we'll be able to offer the live market view inside of Stockwave, but initially that is going to be something that's only available for our provision and provisioning customers.
Okay. Dale, Craig's also asking, is training an additional cost?
Nope, training is not additional costs. Once again, consistent with the way that we do business at vAuto, we do not charge for training. And I also think it's important to let you know that if you do become a Stockwave client, not only will we do an appropriate amount of training up front, but we'll also have a wholesale pro that is always available to you and will be in touch with you on a periodic basis to make sure that you're getting all the value possible out of the system. So like we do everything else, we work very closely with our clients, and we believe that really our obligation begins once a client says, yes, I want it. It becomes our shared responsibility to make sure that you're successful with it.
Okay. Another one here for you, Chris. Al's asking, how often does Stockwave check with each auction to confirm fees, buy fees, that is?
That's a great question, and I want to call that out, that the way our business plan works today is you can enter in fixed costs, but you actually have to type in those numbers. So in my demo account, I had a cost of auction fee, and that wasn't because I learned from the different auction houses what their buy fees would be. That was just me as a user of Stockwave saying, I usually spend about $300 in auction fees. And just like I had said that I spent about $150 on PSI or whatever the number was that I put in that demo account. So we do not actually today or in our immediate roadmap have plans of getting actual buy fees from the different auction houses.
Actually, I think we intend not to get into that arena at all. I mean, that's a issue that is between the dealer and the auction house, and we don't want to get involved in that if we can avoid it.
Okay, this one for you, Chris. Lance is asking, how does Stockwave help me find cars I'm not selling but should?
Well, that's a great question. And we've been working on plans for that, and I feel like I'm saying that more often than not, but I want to make sure everyone understands that we're releasing this April 1st, but we have a huge list of features that we're so excited about getting into this in the next 6 months and year, and then even 2 years. I think we've got a bunch of features coming. But one of the items that we're working on is saying, right now we're sorting these by profit objective and by your strategy. But if you really wanted to start discovering cars, we have a module that we're working on putting into it that we think is going to just be included in the base Stockwave tool, which we're calling the Discover tool, which will allow you to just go through and find out, like, what are the hottest segments in my market? What models have the most favorable supply and demand metrics today? Things like that, so that you'll be able to go through and discover new cars that you might not have considered looking at. But also, I think just core to how we develop our strategy is that even though you might not have experience with like a Nissan Altima, what we'll do is we'll say, you're a dealership that's had a lot of success moving cars that are like Nissan Altimas, like potentially a Fusion or a Honda Accord, and in that specific price range. Our strategy isn't make specific, and so our strategy will go out there and we'll just look at cars that are in that segment and in that price range. And so just by using that, you might discover cars that you might not have thought would be a good fit, and they might be real opportunistic purchases for you because of the spread that there is in the market.
And I'd like to add to that, if you're currently a vAuto provision client, you do have the tools to identify what are the hottest vehicles in the market, even though you may not have had past history with them. So you would have that benefit today with Stockwave if you're also a vAuto provision client. But I would like to also stress the point that Chris made a moment ago, that it is absolutely crazy ridiculous how much insight we have to the market available to us at Cox Automotive, that over time we will be bringing into the system. So what Chris said is absolutely true. We've really pedaled hard and fast to make this product available today in a preview mode, and over time what you're going to see as a user is just tons and tons of enhancements to it that just continue to make it ever more powerful and insightful.
All right, well, that's it for the questions we're able to get to in the queue. Before we do wrap up, though, I wanted to give both of our speakers, Chris and Dale, an opportunity to leave us with any final comments that they might have. So Chris, if you have anything you want to add before we close today?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone for spending your time. I mean, an hour is a long time out of everyone's day, and I hope that you got what you needed out of it. I've been super close to this project, and I am super excited about it, and I hope everyone loves it as much as we've enjoyed building it and putting this together for you.
Fantastic. And you, Dale?
Yeah, I just want to say that so many of you have put so much confidence in us, and just let you know that it's not unnoticed. We appreciate it. We're very grateful for it, and we know that we have to earn your trust and loyalty every day, and we will remain committed to doing that. And just once again state that what you see here in Stockwave is pretty new, cool technology, but it's really only just the beginning of stuff like this that you're going to see coming out of Cox Automotive as a result of our Better Together strategy. So thank you to everyone for your loyalty and commitment, and be sure that we will always be here for you.
Fantastic. And folks, before we do sign off, a thank you from us as well for joining, and trust that you found today to be of value. Special thanks to Chris Stutzman and Dale Pollack, as well to our sponsor for today, vAuto. And again, thanks for joining. This is Lori Dearman saying have a great rest of the week. Bye for now.